Hi, I'm Dr. Cynthia Clark, acupuncture physician, applied clinical nutritionist, creator of Energy Evolution, and president of Longevity Wellness here in Bradenton, Florida. And I want to talk to you today about an ailment that is particularly popular during the holiday season, and that is acid reflux and heartburn. This is the time of year that we eat some foods that might only be available once a year, and so we tend to indulge and treat ourselves. And when we do that, there are different foods that feed different parts of our microbiome. And basically, it's kind of like having a stranger coming over to your house. If your microbiome is the house, then the unusual food is the stranger coming over to the house. And when that happens, when it's a stranger, the dog might bark or people might get alarmed, some alarm bells go off, and those alarm bells can manifest in the way of inflammation in the body. Acid reflux is one of the ways that inflammation manifests in the body. There is a difference in the way integrative medicine looks at the root cause of acid reflux than the pharmacological approach, and that is this. When you eat food, it goes down your esophagus and it goes through this little sphincter and it goes into your stomach. And what should happen is this little sphincter should close up. And that pyloric sphincter, when it closes, it keeps stomach acid from coming up through the sphincter into the esophagus and burning the inside of the esophagus. This is what eventually causes gastric esophageal reflux disease, otherwise known as GERD, or in later stages, Barrett's esophagus, which is this long-term exposure that can really erode the cells and eventually lead to cancer of the esophagus. So, if that's the problem, then let's look at the two approaches to treating it. Pharmacological intervention, use of proton pump inhibitors, otherwise known as PPIs, you might recognize this as Prilosec, are designed to decrease the amount of stomach acid in the stomach in order to keep that acid from flowing back up through the pyloric sphincter and eroding the esophagus. Let's look at the long-term effects of using a proton pump inhibitor to decrease stomach acid. So primarily what we're looking at here is we're looking at less digestive capacity. Here's why. When you eat food and it goes all the way down that lovely esophagus through that pyloric sphincter and into your stomach, it's supposed to fall into a vat of hydrochloric acid, and that digests it and chews it up and eats it. And when that process is finished, it's turned into the nutrients that your body needs. The less stomach acid we have, the less hydrochloric acid we have, the less ability we have to turn those foods into the nutrients that we need. Well, that sounds like quite a problem. In fact, it's such a problem that in 2016, a study was released saying that people who were on proton pump inhibitors longer than 6 weeks had a 20 times increase in cardiovascular events. So simply put, if you don't have enough stomach acid to digest your food, then your blood isn't going to be rich and yummy and full of nutrients, and that's going to show up in your heart because your heart feeds first. It gets all of those nutrients first. The other approach is the integrative medicine approach. Here, instead of decreasing the amount of stomach acid, actually we do the opposite. 99% of GERD-related cases or heartburn or acid reflux are caused by a deficiency of stomach acid rather than an excess. So now what do we do? That pyloric sphincter is very important that it closes. And what makes that valve close? What makes that valve close is enough tonicity in the valve and enough of the nutrients that strengthen it. Just like when you go to the gym and you go to do a bench press, you have to have enough food and water in your tissues to be able to push the bar and the weights up. Otherwise, you're just gonna go, and you're not going to be able to execute the bench press, and in the same way, your pyloric valve isn't going to be able to execute closing. So if we take a different approach, we increase your stomach acid in order to better digest your food, and we feed your body the minerals that it needs to close that pyloric valve. Specifically here, we're talking about calcium and magnesium are top of the list. Then your body will have the nutrients it needs to perform properly and function appropriately. And when it closes, we don't get that backsplash of acid reflux up through the esophagus. By the way, another one of the things that can cause or exacerbate heartburn and acid reflux is stress, or specifically trying to eat while doing other things, or being too busy to sit down and really be with your meal. It is much more digestively effective to sit down and enjoy even a short lunch break. So 15 minutes of sitting and just relaxing and eating and being is going to be much more effective than trying to eat when you're hurried and in a rush and on the go. So specifically, what we're talking about is relaxing, being fully present, saying your grace before your meal so that you're in a state of appreciation and relaxation when you consume that food and really genuinely enjoying it. I am Dr. Cynthia Clark from Longevity Wellness, and that's good medicine.